How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I did say that within the week of 9.1 I'd release a video with my predictions as to what the meta tanks will be this patch in regards to the endgame content such as Mythic Plus and raids. Now, it's important to know that at this moment in time this is all just speculation for me, and as a tank main I thought it'd be fun to put out an educated guess as to what I think the tank mains are going to look like and what they're going to be. If you have a difference in opinion, please do leave a comment down below as to why you think differently. I am interested to know how the community is kind of looking at tanks right now. However, without any further discussion, let's just jump into my speculation on which tanks will be used in 9.1. Okay, so for my first picks, we're going to be covering raiding, and I think that it is important to note that I will be going from the basis of progression raiding, as the more the patch goes on, the more tanks become effective in endgame content and can usually perform in the hardest encounters the more the patch progresses. So, going from that, my first tanking duo pick that I think could be the meta in raiding is going to be Brewmaster Monk and Guardian Druid. Now, if we go to look at these two classes alone, they certainly have a lot of strengths, but paired together for the hardest raiding content the game has to offer, they make one hell of a duo. In my head, almost a little bit like they were in Legion. To start things off, both tanks are extremely durable, with Druids having a vast array of defensive abilities such as Iron Fur, Survival Instincts, Bark Skin, paired with the Legendary of course, Frenzy Regeneration, and even Incarnation, which for certain fights could possibly be paired with the Legendary as well. And then Monks having their Stagger mechanic and their Purifying and Celestial Brews, which guarantee a smooth damage intake, as well as the Keg Smash and Breath of Fire combo. They also have a couple of really strong cooldowns, such as Fortifying Brew and Invoke, how would you say it? Nazawa, that's how I'm going to say it. Even Zen Meditation can be used preemptively to block large attacks, however it is more of a niche ability to use, it does cancel upon getting damaged. All in all, however, they're a pretty amazing toolkit for damage mitigation as a pair. So, Monks also bring a physical damage buff for the raid, and if you don't have a Windwalker or Mistweaver, you're probably going to need it. It's obviously huge considering that progression raiding in most cases needs all the damage that you can get or do. Now, both classes carry very decent CC effects as well, such as Mass Root, Ring of Peace, Sweeping Leg Kick and Paralyze, and both tanks even possess decent mobility, which is becoming more and more prevalent in raiding, where tanks need to move away from a raid to avoid doing huge raid damage or something like that, for example with Artificer. And this can even come in handy for kiting or gathering ads should you need to. Guardian also brings an extra Stampeding Roar should you need it, although it's probably most likely going to be covered by balanced Druids anyway, but it's still there for argument's sake. Now, in the last video I posted, I mentioned about Guardian Druids potentially not having the best damage output for raiding. One comment actually it corrected me in saying that Guardian Druid has great potential for damage in raids. Now, I will say, although proven wrong in that instance, overall I stand by my point of saying that for progression raiding that is not ideal with the switching legendaries and stuff. We lack amazing amounts of damage outside of switching legendaries due to needing like the now legendary or maybe Ursoc's Fury Remembered or whatever, or the conduits for more survivability. However, Guardian still does provide a decent amount of damage to go along with its brilliant durability. Now, raiding was a really tricky one, and rather than just guessing one meta comp that the top teams may run, I decided to guess two, in which the only change is from a Guardian Druid to a Blood Death Knight. The main reason I've kept the Brewmaster is because for the longest time it's been a staple of world first progression tank and has been the most consistent choice for a long while. However, Blood Death Knights also bring a decent array of utility and their own niche skill set to partner the Brewmaster brilliantly. The main reason I chose Blood Death Knight as an option is mainly because they possess the strongest version of AMZ, which is a fantastic cooldown for any team or comp, as magic damage can often be the heaviest source of damage taken in a fight. Though the Unholy and Frost Death Knights still bring AMZ, it's apparently not as strong as Blood AMZ, which could lead to Blood receiving a raid spot on its own. Another great strength about Death Knight is that they're not massively healer reliant. The self-sustain healing is often more than enough to keep Death Knights in a healthy position in most fights, though it must be said that as always they've struggled to be able to prepare or deal with heavy incoming damage, and is much more costly to play if you make a mistake as opposed to say a Brewmaster or a Guardian Druid. They also bring a little selection of CC effects to the table, such as Asphyxiate, Death Grip, Mass Grip and Chains of Ice. However, Blood does tend to lack mobility outside of its cooldown, but it is great against slowing effects with Death's Advance. And Death Knight also has a little cheat death mechanic as well, so maybe that could come in clutch, who knows. Moving into my Mythic Plus selections now, I've chosen 2 tanks which I think are going to be performing really well in Mythic Plus in patch 9.1. Starting off, we have the Guardian Druid. Now, if you've watched my last video or even the first 5 minutes of this one, you'll know how highly I rate Druid as far as a tank goes due to its durability. However, it cannot be said enough that in Mythic Plus their capability for big risky pulls is arguably unparalleled, with the combination of Incarnation, Ursoc's Fury Remembered Legendary, and uncapped AoE thrash damage, which is basically one huge yeet shield. This alone for the entire duration makes Guardian Druids near enough impossible to kill until getting up to the really high keys, obviously. And from what I've seen, outside of this insane cooldown, they're just as strong with their array of other defensives to choose from. They have good damage potential, which I've mentioned before, and in a smaller group, the little bits of utility that you can actually take from a Druid become more appreciated, with things such as Mass Root for kiting or even Stampeding Raw. Another cooldown that can be important, Soothe, as well, to get rid of any enrages on mobs or maybe even the bosses. Now my second option is a tank I've not yet mentioned in this video, and that is a Protection Warrior. Now, it's never been a secret that warriors have a weird tendency to grow in bigger increments as a class than others between patches. Now, that being the case here, it's also important to remember that the Reprisal Legendary has just flipped the game on its head with its new effects granting more shield blocks for warriors to use, which only bolsters their already vast toolkit of defensives at their disposal, with each of them being valuable given that warriors lack self-healing. But it is accounted for in the defenses such as Shield Block, Ignore Pain, Shield Wall, Last Stand, Spell Reflect, Demoralizing Shout. All these abilities managed correctly really make Prot Warrior a force to be reckoned with in Mythic Plus. And on the flip side of the coin, Protection Warrior also brings a boatload of DPS which nobody would ever complain about, as well as a decent amount of control abilities such as Fears and Stuns, as well as buffs and defensives for the group. To top it off, Warrior is also a great tank for kiting, so you know that seems to be a more and more prominent thing in Mythic Plus these days, and with Heroic Leap and Charge, you know, your kiting capability is probably through the roof. So there we have it, guys. Those are my predictions for the meta tanks in 9.1. Yet again, if you differ in opinion, let me know what you think the tank meta will look like. And also, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and maybe even subscribe for some boss and class guides in the very near future. Till then though, guys, I hope you have a really good week and you're as excited for the Sanctum and new Mythic Plus season as I am. Until next time though, guys, take it easy. Bye now.